Hello there. Good afternoon, good morning, and good evening. A little bit of a different start time for you today, 1 p.m. here on the East Coast. Thanks so much for joining us for Up to Speed Live. Updates today coming from Christy and Kyle. Christy, obviously our HR leader, talking about continuing our new business as usual and how we will continue through with COVID and the things that we are dealing with. And Kyle Milady, our leader of our G&T, our Global Network and Technology Group. So before we get there, I want to go straight over to Kyle to give us some updates to start. Obviously, last week we had a hurricane and different things that took a swipe at us. Kyle, give us the latest on what your teams did over the weekend to reconnect our customers out there.
Hey, Jeremy, how you doing? Good to be with you. You see, I've moved location since my dog started howling a second ago.
I noticed that.
That's how we roll in GN&T. We deal with the situation at hand, and that's what we've been doing for the last week or so. Listen, still a tough situation in this the area that's been impacted. There was a lot of damage as a result of this hurricane blowing through. It started down the Carolinas and moved up, went all the way up into in Canada, but really impacted, New Jersey, downstate New York, Connecticut. This area here got hit pretty hard, actually where I live. And, frankly, for a few days, you couldn't even move around town because there was so many trees down. But like as usual, we spend a lot of time preparing for things like this. And, it starts with that. We have a reliability program. We carried it out to a T. Everybody made sure their checklists were prepared. We were ready to deal with it. And I have to say, overall, the network as a whole handled it very, very well, both wireline and wireless. At one point, we had about 5 to 7% of our cell sites in wireless on power backup, on generator backup. Now, we did lose a few sites. About 200 at the height of it, but they were kind of spread out. So service was still good. When we had a lot of our COs in the wireline side, a lot of our COs were on generators. So as well as a couple other major wireless sites. So all of our battery backup, our power backup, that worked very, very well. And I thank the teams for all the prep there. Now, that doesn't help. There's still folks without service right now, predominantly, FiOS or POTS lines. And, so our customers are calling in looking to be repaired. What happens, Jeremy, in things like this is we need to follow the electric companies generally. We cannot go onto a site because it's too dangerous if there's potentially live power. So the way it generally works is the power guys and the tree companies come, clear a path, and then we'll start doing our work. Then what normally happens is once people get power, they realize maybe their service is out. Then they call us. But at that point, a lot of folks are pretty mad. So the teams are working, like crazy around the clock here, trying to get people back. I'm happy to report that we have over 800 poles down. We fixed the majority of those. We're going to get to the rest. Some new ones will probably pop up here. But the teams out there, the wireless network performing well. There's hot spots in that as well. As you can imagine, if some towns lost their whole internet, people are really going to their cell phone and trying to use internet on the wireless network. And in some cases, the cell sites get a little overwhelmed there. But we're slowly making progress. We're fixing things. And I just really want to thank the team for the commitment. I've been out and about, and I'm seeing our Verizon trucks all over, trying to make repairs for people so we can get them back to kind of normal as usual in COVID, as it were, during the summer months here. So thanks to everybody. I really, really appreciate all the effort.
Yeah, Kyle, thanks so much and great work from the teams out there. Saw a lot here in the greater Morristown area as they were working through that this weekend. So can't say thank you enough there. So I want to do that again. And a call out to POTS for people who don't know what that is, plain old telephone service. Look at there, a wireless guy throwing some network terminology your way there. So Kyle, thanks for the update. More with Kyle here in a moment. Christy is joining us now. We were talking about phase 3 and where we're looking there and what it means for all of our employees. So we'll go ahead and go over to Christy now for those updates. Christy, how are you doing today?
Jeremy, thanks so much. And great to be here. Great to be here with Kyle and talking to all the V team out there. Really wanted to come back and talk to everybody today because we said that we'd come back in mid-August and the VLC has been monitoring the situation closely with regard to COVID, as well as all of the ways that we've continued to run the business during this time. We also know a lot of employees are asking us a lot of questions about what's going to happen, and we know that the situation with COVID is continuing to evolve. And we're also looking at the return to school time of year, as well as other services and other parts of the country beginning to reopen. And so as a VLC, as we've evaluated all of the developments and the current situation, as well as how well we are working in our current adjusted state at keeping customers connected, at keeping the network operating, at servicing all of the things we do with our business, each VLC member will be talking to their organization throughout the week, but we are going to stay in the current way in which we're operating until the end of the year. And so let me talk a little more, if you could put the first slide up, Jeremy, about what does that actually mean, because you're probably wondering, and just to recap how we've been operating. As you know, we've got the front line, and we just heard from Kyle about everything the front line did to get the network up and running through the hurricanes and the like last week. So our field technicians, our field engineers, our retail store teams have been operating on site in the retail, customer, or engineering buildings that we have. In addition, we have sales and office-based employees, and they have been working from a combination of home and office. We started rotating office access, and that is now through its second cycle that we're in the middle of right now, and that's going well. And then finally, we have our call center teams that we have currently, and telesales, we have currently working from a remote basis. And so we are pretty excited about the way in which we've been able to deploy our safety practices. And so on the next slide, I want to just remind folks what our safety practices are. We've gone with facial coverings for access into our facilities, as well as into our retail stores, or for our field employees working out in the field and going on premise in other locations. We also have social distancing, where we've put markations of what office space is available for use, where is it safe for workstations to be relevant and relative to one another. And we have a lot of social distancing measures in our touchless retail environment, as well as for our technicians. We have a return to office tool, and in it, it has a wellness pre-check. And actually, Jeremy, since I talked to you last, we've actually completed deploying the return to office tool. So all employees in the United States in any role are able to use the return to office tool to do their pre-check about their own health, and then also be reminded of our on-site safety practices, and then basically get clearance to proceed onto the work site or work location where they work in any of our jobs. Now, you might say, what about international? So later this month, in August, we'll be live by August 24th with the app internationally, and we'll be starting communications and training through all the countries we operate in. We also will have our return to office tool available for all of our visitors and contractors by the end of this month. And so by the time we get to the end of August, we will have all of our V-teamers worldwide using our return to office application, as well as our visitors and customers. In addition, of course, we comply with all local guidelines. We have overarching practices and principles. We're following the World Health Organization and Center for Disease Control guidance, and then we're constantly monitoring and updating that. And so finally, I just want to put on my last slide, Jeremy, to just really remind our V-teamers that this is a situation where we have to take all of the measures and steps I just described in our safety processes and protocols, but also how is it that we keep each other safe? And so on behalf of the VLC, I want to also reiterate, if you are not feeling well, please do not come to work, right? We've got access to strong and good medical benefits for our employees, and we want to make sure you use those, and you don't come to work if you don't feel well. If you feel like you have COVID, contact your healthcare provider, notify your supervisor. Also, please do not come to work if you've been advised or required to quarantine as a result of potential exposure due to recent travels. And then finally, for checking your temperature, if you don't have access to a thermometer to take your temperature, our employees can order one through our catalog, and we'll ship it to your home. And V-teamers that are working in the stores or in the field have already received thermometers. And so, Jeremy, I just want to kind of bring it home. before we throw it out to the Q&A portion of the Up to Speed today, to just say the most important thing is we want to keep our employees safe. We want to keep our customers connected. And I think up until now, we've been able to do those things. And we felt as a VLC, it was important to carry that and all the learnings forward. We're going to continue to lean in on our return to office application, which allows us to keep all V-teamers safe in all of our work settings and now soon worldwide. And we're going to monitor the situation. Obviously, it's a very fluid situation. The disease is constantly evolving and how it's progressing around the world is shifting. And so right now, we didn't feel there was enough information or evidence to make a change in the way we're handling it. So stay tuned. Each VLC member wanted the opportunity to talk with their teams throughout the week so that they could be more specific for how this affected their team and answer their employees' questions. And so we want to make sure we do that as well, Jeremy.
Good. Christy, thanks for that update. I know I'll give us a rundown of what you want your hardworking folks to know out there in the field. Kyle, if you...
Yep, I unmuted. So, like Christy just shared with us, we have a couple nuances, though, however, in the GN&T. If you're office space, you're just going to continue on like we've been doing it, where we had the rotating weekly schedules, and, you follow the checklist and so forth if you need to go in the office. If you don't need to go in the office, don't go in the office. For people who are in the center, in the field operations and outside engineers, those type of folks, we've extended our work from home, garaging, and union agreements with the union through September 30th. So for those folks too, for all of us, it's all basically going to feel the same as it has for the last little bit. And then we'll keep you informed on any contract extensions or anything as we move along there. So basically, it's like Christy said for us as well. We're going to continue to move along in the way we have been, with safety and security always top of mind. Most important thing for everybody in the field. And especially when, we have crews out working in these tough conditions with, in somewhat dangerous situations. Once again, having safety front and center is really important. COVID's still out there. And just because we're working on some splicing or putting up some new poles, we can't let our guard down. You got to keep safety first and foremost. So that's where we stand from GN&T.
Good. Thank you for that, Kyle. So let's jump into some of these questions. Reminder, you can always send us questions, email live@verizon.com. Christy, the first one for you. People want to know, if I'm diagnosed with COVID-19 or if the virus impacts a loved one, can I take a leave of absence? How should that be handled?
Thanks, Jeremy. I think this is first one of the things that we're most proud of here at Verizon. Of course, if you have COVID, please do not come to work and take advantage of the medical support benefits we have. We've also activated support through the Anthem network that we have. So there's nurses and other professionals that will follow up with you directly to help you make sure you're getting access to the services you need. And we found providers also internationally that will help us with that in our international locations. In addition, if you do have to take care of, or if you personally have COVID, you can be off for 8 weeks on 100% pay. And if that extends beyond, then it will go to 60% pay for the balance of the time of the COVID leave. And employees that are personally diagnosed with COVID are eligible for up to 26 weeks of leave. And so we think it's really important that, again, people take the time to get well. And this is a complicated situation. We don't want employees come to work unwell and potentially infecting other coworkers or creating a situation for themselves or others.
Got it. Christy, follow up to that. Obviously, if anyone's following news, has kids in school, every school district is different. What options are there if I need to return to work location as part of our new business as usual, but schools, childcare, other elder care facilities remain closed?
That is a great question. And I think that we, throughout the world and here in the United States, as school return is upon us with that mid-August to mid-September timeframe, there's a lot of questions and a lot of false starts that we've already seen very highly covered in the news. And so for that reason, we actually already had this set of protocols set up to be until September 30th. But as it's clear that they're going to continue to have uncertainty post September 30th, we felt we wanted to give our V-teamers some sense of stability so that all of our employees in any role can begin to plan. We also have backup daycare and care reimbursement policy. And so we have information on that on the COVID webpage. That benefit and that program will continue. And we also have, actually, we're going to be re-highlighting a lot of tutoring and other services that we have made available, since some V-teamers have asked us that as well, as they might be potentially looking at having their children in a hybrid home and virtual and on-prem schooling. Our V-teamers are telling us that's kind of hard for them. And so we're trying to make sure we remind folks of all the tools we have available for them. And so as a reminder, we do have a backup care benefit and a reimbursement policy.
And this one comes up a lot. Obviously, folks who feel like they can travel safely during the summer for vacation or whatnot, as long as, like you mentioned, they're following local guidelines. At what point can we expect travel restrictions to lift? And what should people do if they do choose to travel?
The travel situation is a challenging one. So first, we are allowing business critical travel. And in country, a vice president level leader can approve that. International travel, we as VLC members want to personally approve that. The reason for the approvals is really to ensure that we're doing everything we can to make sure it is business critical travel, and we're making sure we're keeping our employees safe. The challenge also with travel is right now, states and governments around the world, cross country, are making travel restrictions. And a lot of those travel restrictions then require quarantines. So we also think it's important, please constantly check the webpage, and the travel guidelines are changing on a regular basis. And so that needs to factor into how people think about their travel. We also know people are trying to take time off, to take vacation. We've even been encouraging people to take downtime. And so we just strongly encourage you to look into what the quarantine requirements are should you travel, so that you can keep yourself or your family and others safe.
Good. Kyle, one more question for you. You mentioned earlier your teams are out there following their guidelines. How do they continue to work? Like, for example, last week we heard Serge from the network team say, hey, there's an issue, we're set up to work remotely, but how are your teams all set to do that right now as coronavirus continues to be an impact to how we do our work?
You know, honestly, Jeremy, I think we set up the process quite a while ago, quite a few months ago, and we just continue to optimize. The GTS folks are doing a great job kind of optimizing the work from home thing. The teams are falling into, I think, a little bit better cadence of how you use those tools and how you go about your job. So now we're to the point of optimizing these kind of things, but there's still a lot of tweaks to be made and work to be done. And we work with all of our colleagues trying to bring in all the information we can, and then work on the things that'll make the biggest bang for the buck. One tool I started using recently is Slack. It's something we're going to, maybe some of the CMO teams have been using, and we're going to roll that out to the rest of the company as we go forward here. But I've been using that a little bit, and it's a pretty cool tool. So we're just going to continue to find ways that allows us to be the most effective as possible while we're working in this kind of mode.
Good. Thank you, Kyle. I appreciate you joining us. Again, thanks to your team and all that they've done to keep us connected, not only post-hurricane, but since earlier in the year, where a lot of us are now working from home while they are out there working in the field to keep us and our customers connected. Christy wants you to wrap it up with final thoughts today. And one quick note, a lot of people are loving the new hairstyle with the pink. So wanted to share that with you. So thanks for brightening up our day with that.
It's my daughter's favorite color. So it was a little shout out to my daughter, who was kind of stressed on COVID leave with all of,
nice.
She's getting into senior year. So I thought it'd be kind of a fun way to get her pumped up.
Awesome.
Thanks for the V-teamers for that. A couple of things, Jeremy. To that end, before I jump into some of my other closing remarks, I do think that we've been all living with this now since March, and there's a part of us that probably is like, when is this going to be over? When is coronavirus going to be in the rearview mirror? When is it going to be behind us? And we recognize that as a VLC, and we're actually talking this week at our meeting later this week about what are the ways we can pump up the team and keep people motivated while we're having to live with this new normal. And, there's a potential for another surge in the fall on top of the normal flu season. And we have a little bit of chaos, as you see, as people are trying to figure out how do we school children and such. So we want you to know we're with you. We're trying to figure it out. Hans gave a shout out and asked you all to send in suggestions. We've gotten those, and we also have the Pulse survey out closing today. So we will be combing through all of those suggestions, because we know that for the whole world, this is just an incredibly trying time. And so we're going to be trying to find ways to make sure we keep it right on point for people and help everybody thrive through this new normal. So I think if I could put up a quick slide to show a summary of the messages that I shared, as well as what we have ahead of us, and 3 priorities for us. First is we want to continue our new BAU. All of you as a V team have made this work. We've tried all kinds of ways to make sure every V-teamer, no matter what their circumstances are or how the coronavirus is affecting them or their families, that we found a way for you to stay connected and a way for you to stay working, because we know staying part of and active is a really important way for people to thrive and get through difficult times. And so all of us pulling together and finding ways to do that have really helped us get to where we are. So we're going to continue that through the end of the year, and we'll obviously continue to monitor the situation all the time. Second, we're prioritizing safety. That's why we actually put the return to office tool. So every V-teamer worldwide, when you're working, you'll have check reminders for your own safety. We have some safety videos. We have our safety protocols. And that way you'll know every time you're kind of cleared for work, so to speak, while we're living with COVID. And then finally, we're trying to make sure that we can remain responsive. Constant feedback loops, things like give us your feedback, let us know through the various channels. Right now we're in the middle of a Pulse window. We'll do that again in Q4. And as I said, we monitor daily what's happening, so we can always update or modify to keep everybody safe, etc. And so, Jeremy, if I could just offer some closing remarks after the slide. You know, we have a credo at Verizon, and our credo is one of those things that really in times like this helps guide us. You know, we definitely think it's an honor and a responsibility to keep the world connected. And this is probably the greatest challenge of our time. And our networks and services will be even more instrumental in helping communities rebuild and recover. We also know 2020 has been an unprecedented year in terms of the size and the scale of the challenges that we've faced. But I would just say I've never been prouder to be a V-teamer. You know, you all are living our credo. You're bringing those words to life by proving that when we are tested, the V team comes out even stronger and committed to doing what's best for our customers and society at large. So I know we're all feeling fatigued, and I think it's normal and understandable, but we definitely want to make sure we support your well-being. We also have lots of opportunities and offerings on the Degreed platform for employee wellness and mindfulness during this time. And you saw Hans took vacation. I was able to take some downtime with my family earlier this summer in June. And I hope each of you finds ways to help work through the fatigue. And I want to just let you know we'll be back with all your ideas and try to keep ourselves upbeat through what will likely be a long haul here. And so keeping safe, keeping people connected, really critical for the next period of time, Jeremy.
Good. Thank you, Christy. Thank you, Kyle. Good reminders there as to what we can do to keep ourselves physically strong, mentally strong as we go through this. I'll echo what Hans usually tells us. Reach out to your friends and family, let them know you're thinking about them as we continue down this, and take some time and reflect for yourself. I think that's also what Christy is saying there. Don't be afraid to reach out to folks if you have the need to talk. So good reminders. Christy, Kyle, thank you so much for joining us today to give us the latest. Again, our thanks to the teams as they worked to keep our customers connected. We'll be back with you again tomorrow, and until next time, you're up to speed.